Hi, Camp Barney.
I'm Dove Wallach from Nature Staff.
I'm Caroline from Nature Staff.
And I'm Alex Canfer. Welcome to our very first virtual outdoor cooking period. We're going to be cooking today with some very basic skills I learned at camp. And we're going to be cooking a very basic but still exciting recipe that I think you'll all be very excited for. Quesadillas. So, if you'd like to follow along at home with us, you'll need these supplies. And feel free to pause at any time to gather them as you need. First, tortillas, just one or two depending on how many you'd like to make. A pan big enough for your tortillas. Any sort of butter or oil to put on the pan first before you cook. And then any sort of cheese. Feel free to spice it up whichever way you want and just make it interesting. That's what I like. Anything with a kick. And then, if it's your first time cooking, there's no need to throw anything else in. But if it isn't and you'd like to spice it up or add your own little flavor, you can add in anything else. Personally, I like just onions while you're cooking it. And then after, it's always great to top it off with some salsa. And then, don't forget, you'll always need your spatula for flipping. Once you have all your supplies, you're ready to start cooking. And for that, I'll pass it over to the Dove.
Alright, well, it wouldn't be an outdoor cooking video without actually having a fire to cook over. With that being said, fire and cooking is dangerous, so I recommend you following at home, cook inside. Also, make sure to talk to or get your parents to watch while you're cooking. Alright, now to actually make the fire. For those of you familiar with camp, feel free to follow along at home by telling me what step I should be doing next. First thing, we're going to take 2 pieces of our semi-fuel, make a V, add some small tinder to the top of it to make that A-frame. Go ahead and light it from there. Once that's started, we're going to keep adding little bits of small tinder and occasional kindling, making sure not to add too much to suffocate it and not to let it go out on its own, since this stuff will burn fast. We're going to start adding a little bit bigger stuff. Keep it trying to grow. Now, what we're going to try and be intentional here, maybe sometimes compared to other fires, is we're going to be really organized. Because this is a cooking fire, our goal is going to be to make a strong ember base. When you're cooking, you want a constant source of heat. So we're not trying to cook over flames, we're going to try and cook over embers. To get an ember base takes a pretty strong fire. The fastest way to have that is to have an organized fire. It's okay if your fire goes out, you just relight it and keep going. That's why we make sure we have plenty of tinder. Now, one thing you can do if you had some dry wood like this is you can put the wood on top of the fire a little bit early, as long as it doesn't suffocate it, and that way the wood will dry out while other wood is burning. Alright, so now what we're going to start to do, now that we've got a little bit of embers in there, is we're going to shift our fire and make it into that classic H shape for a log cabin cooking fire. And log cabin's great because it's really organized, like I was saying earlier. It helps create a very strong ember base very quickly, which is good if you're hungry and want to get to eating. Once we're in the log cabin, we just keep laying the wood across and building up our fire nice and slow, keeping it very organized, very condensed. Keeps all the heat trapped inside where we want it. So a cool thing is if you see really white smoke like this, it's almost all water vapor, like when you're cooking pasta, boiling water for pasta. Darker smoke is the actual smoke, but this white stuff, very contaminated by CO2 and other smoke, but predominantly water from wet wood. Alright, that's coming along nicely. Caroline will give it some time to grow, and the fire's all yours.
So once you have your cooking area set up, you're going to take some butter and drop it in the pan. Make sure to get it all covered. Once the pan is nice and buttery, you're going to take one of your tortillas and put it in the pan. After that, you're going to take some cheese, preferably a large handful. However, You don't want to take too much because if you overfill your quesadilla, you're not going to be able to flip it. You're going to take a nice handful, put your cheese on one side if you're doing a normal quesadilla, and on both sides if you're making a double dilla. I like a lot of cheese in mine. I'm just going to be making a cheese quesadilla today, but if you would like, you can make a quesadilla with onions or green peppers or anything else you'd like to put in your quesadilla. So once we have it like that, I'm going to take it and put it over the fire. For you guys following along at home, this is when you go ahead and put it over the stove. Once it gets melted to your liking, you're going to take your spatula, put it under one side of the quesadilla, the non-cheesy side, and you're going to flip it over. If you're making a normal dilla, if you're making a double dilla, this is when you put over the second tortilla. So you're going to let it cook a little more, pat it down a little bit. Make sure to flip it when you think it's ready to flip. Ooh, get that nice brown, nice sizzle. Flip it again. And once it's cooked to your liking, you're going to take it off your pan with your spatula and put it on your plate, or in my case, bandana. Wait for it to cool off, and then it's ready to eat. For those of you following along at home, how did yours turn out? Let us know in the comments.
Thank you for joining us on this outdoor cooking, and let us know what food we should do next time. Now, whose turn is it to do the dishes?